couple of days ago, a friend asked me to recommend books I've enjoyed reading. I immediately thought of the spy novels of Alan First set in Europe during the Second World War, and also the novels of Anita Shreve, who did books such as Light on Snow and The Pilot's Wife. Then I started thinking backwards of other books, fiction and nonfiction, that had a big impact on me. I'm thinking of Unbroken by Laura Hildebrand, The Heart is a Lonely Hunter by 23-year-old Carson McCullers, Old Man's War by John Scalzi, incredible science fiction, Bleak House by Charles Dickens, The Rainbow by D.H. Lawrence, The Caine Mutiny by Herman Wouk, The Gulag Archipelago, spiraling backwards decade after decade until I finally reached what I consider the foundation stone of novels that gave me a glimpse into the adult world. I'm thinking of Tom Sawyer. I must have read Tom Sawyer when I was 11 or 12 years old, about the same age as Tom was. And something about the book really burrowed into me because Tom was, in a way, my alter ego. He was adventurous, he was cunning, he was loyal, he was kind of a scam. He was definitely not an academic, and he was a risk taker. Basically, he was everything that I wasn't at that age. He's the one that scammed his friends into giving him tickets so he could get a Bible at church, whereas I was one of the grinds who would have memorized Bible verses to try to get the Bible. Still, Mark Twain used Tom Sawyer as a vehicle for giving me some real life lessons in what to expect in adolescence and on into adulthood. I was so impressed by the book that I actually quoted it in my senior yearbook at Princeton, where we all tried to say something profound about life. And what better source for that than Tom Sawyer? I was particularly entranced or struck by the relationship between Tom Sawyer and little Becky Thatcher. So here's one of the passages that really stayed with me. In a little while, the two met at the bottom of the lane, and then when they reached the school, they had it all to themselves. Then they sat together with a slate before them, and Tom gave Becky the pencil and held her hand in his, guiding it, and so created another surprising house. When the interest in art waned, the two fell to talking. Tom was swimming in bliss. Well, Tom has other things on his mind, wants them to declare their love and get engaged at whatever young age they are. And Becky needed a little convincing, but she finally decided it was a pretty good idea. So by and by, she gave up and let her hands drop. Her face, all glowing with the struggle, came up and submitted. Tom kissed the red lips and said, "Now it's all done, Becky, and always after this, you ain't ever to love anybody but me, and you ain't ever to marry anybody but me. Never, ever, and forever, will you?" So more conversation. Becky said, "It's so nice. I never heard of it before." "Oh, it's ever so gay. Why, me and Amy Lawrence." The big eyes told Tom his blunder, and he stopped, confused. "Oh, Tom, then I ain't the first you've ever been engaged to." The child began to cry. Tom said, "Oh, don't cry, Becky. I don't care for her anymore." "Yes, you do, Tom. You know you do." Wow, could I ever identify with that? Trying, yearning, getting halfway there in a relationship, and then something goes terribly wrong. Twain, through Tom, told me something about life. Later, Tom and Becky get lost in a cave. The dawning horror of their situation of being trapped underground moves Tom from being the kiss chaser to the fearless comforter. Here's a passage from that. She sank to the ground and burst into such a frenzy of crying that Tom was appalled with the idea that she might die or lose her reason. He sat down by her and put his arms around her. She buried her face in his bosom. She clung to him. She poured out her terrors, her unavailing regrets, and the far echoes turned them all to jeering laughter. Tom begged her to pluck up hope again, and she said she could not. He fell to blaming and abusing himself for getting her into this miserable situation. This had a better effect. She said she would try to hope again, and she would get up and follow wherever he might lead, if only he would not talk to her like that anymore. Tom kissed her, and with a choking sensation in his throat, made a show of being confident in finding the searchers or an escape from the cave. Then he took the kite line in his hand and went groping down one of the passages on his hands and knees, distressed with hunger and sick with bodings of coming doom. Again, I'm getting a vision of what adult life is like. How often did this play out as an adult? But Tom Sawyer, for good or ill, was showing me what a man, a boy, is supposed to do. You keep cool and solve problems. These days, Tom and Becky would probably need some couples therapy to recover after a harrowing adventure like that. Still, I really like Tom Sawyer, and we could do worse than using him as a role model. And I believe the book does continue to influence new generations. I hope that school children, both boys and girls, take their heart and mind to Tom Sawyer and see what they can learn from it, the way life was, what it's supposed to be now. I'm happy to say that even in my own family, it has an influence. I have a grandnephew named Sawyer, and I'm hoping that his current life on a ranch with longhorns and chickens and pigs and dogs and cats and what other creatures you can think of will make him into a Tom Sawyer-like little scamp, and he grows up to have a great life with all the verve and action and loyalty that Tom Sawyer did. So the future's in good hands if you listen to Tom Sawyer. Thank you.